Hey guys, it is Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. This is a topic that is important to a lot of people in comics, and that is comic stores, comic shops going out of business. I've kind of gone back and forth a lot on this idea of, can comic shops be saved, or is it just, things are changing and you can't do much about it? I'm not entirely sure what the answer is. It could be a few different things, but I just saw this. This is on Bleeding Cool. Kingdom Comics of Vestiva Hills, Alabama to close. So another comic shop closing. This is becoming so commonplace that I kind of just get, with the shops mixed up. They're just closing in mass. They're closing a lot. So from here in Bleeding Cool, it says, let's see, we decided, this is coming from the store owner, I presume, we decided not to renew our lease due to rising costs and an aging base. An aging base. Customer base is aging. They're not getting customers that are younger. This is a problem, I think, elsewhere as well. This is not something we decided lightly, and we will continue our online presence here and elsewhere. All of you mean the world to us, and the fact Kingdom was open for 16 years is testament to the wonderful friends we have. Stop by, take advantage of the sell and talk with your friends. Okay, so they're going out of business. A few reasons they cited, or a few reasons that are obvious. One is their aging base. This is something I haven't heard a lot from comic shops that are closing. I think it's absolutely right, though, is that newer, younger people haven't been into comic books. It feels like there needs to be a massive push of some kind to get new comic book readers into comics. And what that's going to take, I don't know. I mean, I have a few ideas. I'm sure there are a lot of smart people out there. But honestly, I think it's good old-fashioned promotion, getting the word out there, and getting comics into people's hands. I love comics so much. I believe that most people, if they read a good comic book, not trash, a good comic book that has some mass appeal quality, the story is well told, the art is fun and engaging, you're going to get people into comic books. I really do believe that. The problem is getting it into their hands in the first place and getting them willing to give it a shot. I feel like that's the hardest. That's the hardest part, is getting your first comic. But if you read a good one, you're hooked, man. That's how I got in. I was lucky enough and picked the right ones, but I read a slew of great comics, no trash, for my first, I read a few issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Just old school. It was great. Then I decided I wanted to read more Spider-Man, so I started on J. Michael Straczynski's run on Spider-Man. Toward the beginning, that was a big run. So great. That first trade was great. Batman Year One, Batman Long Halloween, like all of these I read before I got to any so-so comics. It was so great because it really made me see what was so great about comics, and there's great stuff to come too. I really think that's important. So another thing here is the brick and mortar presence. That's a big deal. It's a big deal everywhere. It's expensive to run any kind of shop where you have a brick and mortar location. You have less access to people in general. If you think about it, on Indiegogo, like in my campaign, it has 800 backers. I think over 800 backers now. 800 backers. If you think about 800 people on the street or in one building at a time, or how many people just go through a shop, 800 people is a lot of people. It really is. Now, how about like 10,000 people? If you really break that down, that is a ton of people. How many people does it take to keep a shop open? How much foot traffic can a comic shop get? Where's the best location? All these kinds of things are really important. Because you really do have to get a ton of people to go to a comic shop in order to then break that down to, whatever percentage of those people going through are actually buying something, and then how much are they spending, all these kinds of things. What are your costs? This is all important for a brick and mortar store. And they did say that they're going to be continuing to sell online. That's a different matter. But it is sad every time I see one of these going on. So I think there's probably a few approaches that seem to come up a lot. One is brick and mortar stores closing down. There's a nostalgia factor. People like those brick and mortar shops. and you can go kicking and screaming. This is just one example here. Oh, come on. Here we go. An example. This is change.org. I remember when this used to be such a big deal. People would always be posting stuff up on change.org like it meant anything, like like something was going to happen. But Blockbuster, this is a petition by somebody that was young. They said they're a kid. They weren't even alive in the 90s. Wasn't even born in the 90s, but I'm obsessed with the 90s. That's really funny. So last Blockbuster, there's a petition, change.org, to keep open. Now, the way that things work in the real life is you can't just go petition the government to keep a business open. You can't go petition just the public and have enough public outrage that, this Blockbuster ought to not be closing. There are there are some really specific reasons why a Blockbuster is going to close down, why a brick and mortar store, and all of it has to do with money, income, expenses, cash flow. All these things are really important. So to change the price of what it just takes to keep a shop open and keep the heat on, the lights on, all that kind of stuff, those costs are expensive. Then you have to make enough profit off of sales in order to, put into your business. And not only that, you have to make enough profit to be able to put it in your own pocket, to make it worth your time. Those business investors that are starting these business, people will put their houses up, anything they can do to keep a store open if they care about it a lot. But the numbers have to make sense. And so a petition's not going to do it. This is definitely kicking and screaming. So one other thing, and I'm comparing it a totally other industry, but it's the same kind of thing. These are industries, video rental, they're things that have gone away, and comic shops seem to be going away. But at the same time, they could come back. This was a really interesting article I saw about arcades. And it's interesting to me because I spent the weekend and we dropped the kids off at the grandparents, and they spent the night. It was really fun. Did a few things with my wife. And one of those things was we went to arcade. Old-fashioned arcade. I mean, what's new-fashioned? They had all sorts of old games. They had the ticket games, too. It's something we enjoy doing every so often. It's just going to an arcade together. It's, nickels, all that kind of stuff. Lots of fun. And I've been seeing more arcades pop up, at least locally around here. I've seen more arcades. Not only that, there's fewer arcade machines that you can buy online. It's always been something I've wanted to do, is buy an arcade machine and have it in my house. But I can't, they used to be everywhere. You would look on the local, classified listings, you'd find them. Now I always see ads for people buying up arcade machines, not selling them. So fewer to buy. There's fewer out there to buy because people are starting their own arcades, whether it's privately, but I'm talking en masse. These are people buying and starting their own arcades, and it's becoming something that's kind of coming back. It's interesting, probably not in the same way. Things have changed a little bit. This one, they've got a picture. This is a really sexy looking arcade. Maybe that's part of it. They've got a bar built in. The arcade I go to is nothing like this, but still fun. So this is interesting because there is an appetite to go to a place and play arcade games. Yeah, you could do it at home. You could do it online. You could do it in so many different ways. But people still want to go and have an experience at a place. Now, what would have to change? What would have to change for comic shops in order for them to become sexy, to become something new that people wanted to go do? I don't know the answer to that question. You could probably imagine a few things that might work. Heck, why not build, this would be my dream business, by the way, a comic shop with an arcade. That would be so cool. Patent pending. That would be cool. I'm sure there's a lot of other things. Now, something else is a lot of comics are being sold online. It makes more sense. I actually went also this weekend. I did all sorts of fun stuff. I went to my local comic shop and just checked out what they had. I was looking through their trades to see if they had some of the trades that I had been looking for. And they had a lot. They had a lot of trades, but they didn't have the specific ones that I needed. So that was a little disappointing. But they did have a lot. And it's just unfortunate because if there was a way to take the best things that you get with online shopping, or the excitement that happens with online or crowdfunding even, and you're able to tie that into comic shops, it would sure be nice. I don't know the answer to that though. I'm not sure how it's working. It would be really great if comic shops would order from these crowdfunding campaigns, and people could order through their shops to get crowdfunded comics. I don't know how any of that would actually work or actually play out, but it would sure be nice. There's so much to factor in here. I would love to see some kind of excitement around comic shops. I'd love to see, have the ability to sell comics that give them enough of a profit margin that they can keep a brick and mortar store open. They need the profit margin. At the same time, customers going in there to buy books, they need something else other than a book that is going to be twice the price that they could just buy on Amazon. And that is hoping that they actually have the book that they need. It just feels like there's a gap there. How can it be made more exciting? I don't have all the answers to this, but I believe that there could be a path forward. And a lot of that is going to depend on culture. Culture around arcades. You could buy an arcade machine and have it in your basement. That'd be great. But there's something about getting out of the house. There's something about going there and you see the excitement, and there's a little bit of people watching, I guess, and you're winning the prizes with your tickets, and you're seeing old games you haven't seen forever. You go by and I didn't realize that this game was here and this exists, or this pinball machine. There's something that's really fun about it, and you can't really duplicate that experience at home. So what is it about comic shops that you cannot duplicate with the internet, that you can't duplicate elsewhere? I don't know. Is there something? It's a totally different thing, but at the same time, it is really a similar thing. So Blockbuster, I don't know. Petition isn't going to change anything. I think this is silly. The numbers have to work. Arcades seem to be coming back in some places, and comic shops right now, they're not looking good. So I'd love to know in the comments below what you think about saving comic shops. Is there something we could do with crowdfunding comics that would directly benefit comic shops? And if so, what would that be? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.